And Troy Deeney joins us once again. Good afternoon, Troy.
Hello, gentlemen. How you doing?
Yeah,
Good,
we're not
thanks.
so bad. I think like most
Still
people,
in shock.
Still in shock, really, at that. As a Spurs fan, I was delighted, but Manchester United, just a bit of a mess, really. I mean, from a player's point of view, what are you seeing when you watched them yesterday and you watched them so far this season?
I think every time you think Man United are going to get worse, they normally pull a result out, don't they? Just out of nowhere. But I think yesterday was the first time you looked at it and thought, are they really bothered? Are they trying? I thought that it looked like the manager had lost it. And I understand what Gary Neville's saying when he's saying this is the worst performance under Ten Hag. But in this situation, this is about personal pride. This is about delivering. How can you run? Can you tackle? Can you make it difficult? Look at that first goal. That first goal is embarrassing. And also they had that in the week as well in Europe. So it's started to look at the players more now than the manager.
They showed everything, the United players, in that cup final. The thought was Ten Hag was going. They didn't really care about that, but they cared about themselves and the pride. And they played against City. They played with intensity. That was completely lacking yesterday.
Yeah, but I think throughout this whole period, we've never seen a consistent run of Man United, have we? We've not sat there and gone, right, they're doing this for 6, 7, 8 weeks at a time. And then when the bad performance happens or the bad result happens, we turn around and go, oh, that was an anomaly. Now we're looking at it and going, every time they play well, we're looking back to that and go, what happened in that period? You're talking about the FA Cup final, that was in May. And we're still talking about that was a good performance, but that was probably the last one we could say they strung together. So, a lot of question marks at Man United. I think we did a show on Friday with Crookie, as you know, is a massive United fan, and we was talking about this week could be massive. I don't see them winning any game this week. I said that before the weekend, and I think he could be gone by the end of it.
They got Porto away Thursday, and then they go to Villa Park. So they're not
That's
easy games. Just some of the body language of the players. I mean, if you're looking, you've probably seen that as a player with other players in the team. I was quite shocked. The other thing is that Ten Hag has said is that, he needs that bit more time. He's got quite a lot of new players that need to bed in. They need to click. I mean, is that a fair excuse, you think?
No, not at all. You're 2.5 years in. You can't turn around and say you need time. These are the players you've brought in. You've created the mentality. You've created the ecosystem. You've got rid of everybody. When you look at what Arteta's done in the same time period, granted that Ten Hag has won the FA Cup, but in this time period, we're looking at Arsenal and saying, look at what they're doing. They're challenging. The players are all, you're never talking about Arsenal committed to the cause. They're all in, they're flying around, getting about, and they look like they're challenging. If you keep asking for time, for me, that's a cop-out. All these players you had a hand in bringing in, a lot of these players you've worked with before. So why is it now that you need time to bed them in? If you knew they were going to be young, that's an excuse. Go and get some older players to carry them through. So in my opinion, I think that's a bit of a cop-out. And I think when you're looking at the players, I think they know it's a bit of a cop-out because they're not trying. That's not a team that's trying hard.
The new ownership, Troy, they interviewed Tuchel supposedly for the job and various others. Ten Hag must know this, and the players must know this. So it's a pretty untenable position, isn't it?
Yeah, and what happens as well, agents start talking now. Players start asking their agents what's going on. Because one thing players will never do is blame themselves. I can tell you that firsthand. It's never on. It's always somebody else's fault. So they would have got in the car afterwards. They would have heard, I don't know, talkSPORT or whoever, Gary Neville, whoever it is, and they're looking for an excuse as to why it wasn't their fault. And they'll start phoning their agents and asking questions. And everyone will be saying, oh, the manager's got this long left or this long left. But all you can do as a player is fix and control what you can control. And at the moment, some of those players are walking, they're being ran past, they're not tackling hard, and they're not trying. Man United as a club would be looking at that Spurs game and saying, we can still get back in this. And, we all say Spurs do Spursy things, that's the whole thing. But Spurs looked like they were Man City yesterday. They were running all over Man United.
It could easily be more.
We're going to come on to the game later, but just very brief, if you want to be hyper-critical of Tottenham, there was a little moment before the red card when Garnacho hit the post with that shot, when Tottenham had 6-7 chances to score. It was shades of the Leicester and Newcastle game where they'd dominated the ball, they'd dominated the chances, but they'd not got the second goal. And that is still, I mean, look, they got 3 in the end yesterday, but they were playing 10 men. But if you're going to be hypercritical, that is still something they've got to sort out. They still have got to be more clinical, haven't they?
Absolutely, and I think that's something they need to work on with Werner in particular. I think that the chance he had when he goes through, there was never a moment when we were watching going, he's going to score this.
No.
It didn't even look like he kicked the ball properly.
No.
So while he's very quick and he's lively and he does a lot for the team, if he wants to be in that position and they want to, there was some callers on Friday talking about moving on from Son. Well, if you're going to move on from Son and that's what you're leaving yourself with, then Tottenham are going to be in a bad situation.
He's missed a couple of one-on-ones before. It's interesting. I think he scored against Villa last year in the 4-0.
Yeah.
But it was an instinctive finish. The ball came to him and he just hits it first time. And you do get players. Robbie Keane was a bit like that. Robbie Keane was brilliant instinctively, but if you ask him to run from the halfway line and go round the keeper, he'd quite often miss.
Yeah, of course, but I think when you're talking about Robbie, at least he looked like he was in control. When you're watching Werner running, he looks like he's watching the ball. Like, I don't mean to be nasty to the fella, because obviously he's a very good player, but I'm looking at when my kids play and they're running and kicking the ball, and you're like, you know, the ball's going to be in front of you. Just deal with your touch and go and finish it. And he looked really nervous going through. And when you said he scored in the 4-0. They was already up, weren't they, when he scored? Yeah. If I remember correctly. And it's a lot easier then. The pressure's off. That's a pressure moment when you're going through, and that's a game. That's a moment that can kill the game. And if he wants to be a regular for Spurs, he needs to take them chances.
Let's talk a bit about Cole Palmer. Andy was there to witness that performance.
Bit of history.
It was a fantastic performance. I mean, he's just sensational at the moment, isn't he?
He has been sensational for a while now. I think that the one I loved was the free kick. I really loved the free kick because there was a moment just before where there was and ahhing who was going to take it, and he just kind of went, "Don't worry, I've got this." And I love that confidence. I love that arrogance of a young player that's like, I know I'm the man. In that Chelsea team with hundreds of millions of pounds being spent on every single player, he's going, "Don't worry, guys, give me the ball." And you're seeing big players look at him and say, right, if he does something, we'll be okay. Because the goalkeeper situation, I know we're not going to talk about that, but my God, he was trying his best to sabotage the game. I think he had both to score.
You can't. People, and they were talking with Jamie and Jason. I was listening after the match, and you can't win a title. I bet Chelsea are not ready to win the title anyway, but you can't win a title with that keeper. You can't win anything with that keeper. He's just not good enough. I mean, he wasn't good enough for Brighton, and he's not good enough for Chelsea. But he's had his moments. I tell you though, just before that free kick, someone in the crowd said to his grandson, "That's far too far out for a free kick."
Ah, well done, Andy. Yeah, we've all done that before. Oh, don't let him take it. Yeah, that's.
Well, don't shoot from there.
Yeah,
and then I said to him, "That's one of the best free kicks I've ever seen in my life."
It wasn't just the goals though; it's his over. I mean, a couple of times he plays sort of no-look first-time passes. I mean, he's playing with a real swagger at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, he always does. But do you know what I like as well, though? Just the way he's critical of himself after. Did you see the interview where they said, "Oh, you scored 4." He's like, "I should have had 5 or 6."
Yeah.
That's the mentality. He's like, "Look, I want more. I need more." I remember him coming off against Wolves. The game was done, and he was fuming that he was coming off. He just wants to play football. I think he wants to take the mantelpiece of, "I'm the main man at Chelsea." And Chelsea are going to be up there, not only this season, but for seasons to come. So he's taking that mantelpiece. And if you're going to start looking for players, you're not looking in my position. I think he's an excellent player.
Oh, he is. And he's got a contract to like 2033.
Most Chelsea players have got him. He'd be 62 when he leaves.
Because obviously, we've got to enjoy him while he's there. Because I mean, those sort of players eventually.
Well, not if Chelsea are successful.
Yeah, it depends.
He's got a reason to stay.
Yeah.
Are you agreeing with Theo Walcott in shades of Dennis Bergkamp about him, even though he said he'd never really seen him play? Did you see a bit of Bergkamp in Parma?
Who said he'd never seen him play? Theo or
Cole Palmer? No. Cole Palmer said, but he said I've seen clips of him, but I don't really know much about him. It's ancient history for him, apparently.
Yeah, I was more worried if Theo hadn't seen it. That's there's shades of Dennis Bergkamp. I think the way that he moves and the way that he thinks, he's always one step ahead. I just think he's a wonderful, wonderful player. Yeah. I don't think it's fair to compare people and put him in brackets of. He scores more goals than Dennis Bergkamp, arguably. Moves a bit more freely, but that's my opinion. I think he's just a wonderful, wonderful player who has a chip on his shoulder. I think he has that. I think he would have felt slighted through the Euros and felt he should have played more. And he's got to show people, look, this is why I'm the man, and this is why I left City, because he could have stayed at City, couldn't he? And probably now would be one of their main players because of the injuries. But he took a massive gamble, moved. And show people what he does.
We're in finally from John Messino, the Portsmouth coach, who said he's trying everything to get a win after a few draws and defeats. He said, I forgot to wear my belt today, so I'll probably try that on Wednesday and carry it on. He said he's been doing ridiculous things to try and find. Were you suspicious, Troy, if you were going for a bad run, no goal? Superstitious, yeah.
Superstitious.
You weren't suspicious, you were
definitely
superstitious.
Yeah. Working in talkSPORT, you have to be.
Yeah.
I never was superstitious, to be honest with you. I always thought of processes. If you keep doing the right thing, it'll eventually, show its way out in results. I think John's got a real difficult task because Portsmouth are a massive, massive club, but they've been away from the top flight for a long time, and the fan expectation is still high, but they still need to go and recruit and build to that level. They're not spending 20 million on strikers, for example. So, he's doing a good job, and he's done well since he's got in. So keep going, John, and don't worry about the belt. It'll be fine.
Good stuff, Troy. We'll catch up with you next week. Thanks very much.
Cheers, guys. See you soon.
There we are. Troy Deeney with Troy's Take. He'll be joining us every Monday around this time. Look at some of the big talking points of the weekend.
Definitely. Another indictment of Ten Hag, though, is the form of Sancho. He's looked really good.
Yeah.
I think, you can't get a game out of him. There's something wrong with you.
Huxley in Liverpool said superstitions, like John Messino. He says Liverpool beat AC Milan in Istanbul. 1, unopened can of Stella. 2, only having people in the home that had already watched the Reds at my house. 3,
I know that.
At 3-0 down, we realised my mate had his son with him, United fan, 9 years old. So I kicked him out at half-time. Within minutes, Gerrard had scored. He ran back from next door and asked if he could come back in. No, I shouted, get out. Everyone shouted that, including his own dad. The rest is history. Thank you very much, Huxley. Not enjoying the rain driving for the Royal Mail. But, you keep safe. Thanks very much for joining us and contributing this afternoon. talksport.com/H&J. Text to 81089. Tweet to TSH&J. Danny Kelly's up next. We'll go game by game through the Premier League weekend.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.